I did want to ask this, and from your perspective, and I know that the Jags seem to go to London a lot of them more than most clubs, but Jimmy Stones and Liam Coen facing his former franchise, I got to know how intriguing that is for either of you two. I know that that's something that we have circled on the calendar. But yeah, what's how excited are you guys for that? I mean, Tyler, I'll give you a chance to step in on this one first, just, so people don't just think you're a Trevor hater. I'm joking.
I'm not a Trevor hater. I just want him to keep on improving. But first of all, I want to go to the game. The first time I went to London, it was the Rams and Bengals. So the Rams didn't take Erin and I to Maui. So I feel like London will be a decent constellation prize for us both to attend. But in all seriousness, though, that's going to be a great game, a reunion of sorts. Obviously, a lot of ties on both sides. And, the fans in London, they come out for those football games too. They are excited, especially when a team like the Jaguars is there like every year. So they have a natural fan base there. And then the Rams have been there, will be there multiple times now. So, they've accumulated some fans in London as well. But it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a great game. I'm excited to see how this Jaguars team is just going to gel, especially offensively. You mentioned the offensive line. Is the offensive line going to be better? But, man, I mean, all eyes are obviously on Travis Hunter. What is he going to do? Are the Jaguars going to use him similar to the way he was used at Colorado, playing over 80% on both sides of the ball? They've already said he's going to specialize on offense most of the time. But, I mean, Travis wants to play both ways all the time and be on the field ad nauseum. So that's just really intriguing, and it's going to be an exciting game for both the LA Rams fan base and Jaguars.
Yeah, week 7, right? That's almost middle, that's pretty much middle of the season. So I feel like both teams will be clicking on all cylinders. We'll start to see sort of the identity. We always kind of talked about, how soon will a guy like Terrence Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon that the Rams drafted first in the second round. And Sean McVay is pretty hyped on him. So I feel like week 7 is always sort of a nice test for teams in terms of like who they are, what their identity is, how much they're going to gel. And I think, I think the big question, and of course the pageantry of going to London and the global expansion that the NFL is seeing. I always have to drop business because that's what I'm like the most fascinated by when it comes to the world of NFL and sports. But yeah, it'll be a chess match, right? I mean, that's kind of what I think we're excited to see, is how much of that Rams philosophy is going to be implemented, and then how much of it's actually going to work. And then, what other teams are going to take note of that sort of ideology, and may implement moving forward, removing some of those sort of old archaic thought processes when it comes to, like you said, data analytics, player personnel, things like, Maui camp, and just finding ways to further, speak to, connect with players. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see the drama unfold in Jacksonville. We're going to have you guys, just keep us dialed in on, all the tea that's coming out of Jacksonville and how the fans are feeling, because yeah, we're very excited about that matchup in London, and hopefully we'll be there.
I love how she rounded out talking about London, mentioning tea. That is restaurant quality action there, and I love every minute of it. Travis, I will
say, I will say this though, because that game between the Jags and the Rams taking place in week 7, as not only someone who covers the Jaguars, but also a member of the Duuuval, like I am a fan of the team. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, so that's just a different part of the equation. I will acknowledge that there has to be some level of concern being in your first season with this revamped organization, with this revamped roster, with learning this new offense, with being an organization overall coming from that LA Rams, like the template that leans into the younger players playing more, that leans into those younger guys kind of having a bigger role, which then does that not also lean into the potential that you're just going to start slower? Like I'm looking at the 2024 Rams. You guys started off 1-4 at the bye week. Like that was not the easiest schedule. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Lions, Arizona, San Fran, but a loss to Chicago, Green Bay. Like that's not nothing. But so a 1-4 start with a younger roster, and you guys got on fire at the end of the season. And now my logic in my head is like, well, the Jaguars have an opening rough schedule. I mean, they start with Carolina, but then they have 7 just killer games like in a row, including the Rams. I don't know what to expect of the Jaguars by that bye week and by that week 7 game, but I'm kind of curious of that struggle with having those younger guys, probably like a Travis Hunter, playing larger roles right now. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I mean, that's a great point. That's a really good point. Sorry. Well, I was just going to say probably to what Tyler may say is that the Rams had a lot of injuries. In fact, they got injured during training camp. They had injuries on their offensive line. They were missing Cooper and Puka for like 4 or 5 weeks. Tyler, please go for it.
Well, no, yeah, I was going to say the Rams offensive line. I mean, they were like playing musical chairs up front at the beginning of the season. And then Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, both injured as Aaron alluded to. But when you think about this season, I mean, the Jaguars schedule, you said it, Travis, it's pretty difficult to start off. I mean, Carolina, okay, but then the Bengals, they play the Chiefs in there. I mean, these are some difficult matchups. 49ers should be better. And then the Rams schedule is favorable the first 7 weeks. I mean, they do play the Texans to open up the season. That's going to be a difficult game. And then what could be on the Jaguar side, the Rams actually travel to Baltimore week 6, and that's going to be a physical matchup for LA. So teams usually don't perform well after they play the week after they play the Ravens. So to travel to Baltimore and then to go to London the following week, that's a difficult 2-game stretch for LA. It could be possibly a litmus test. And the Rams, they play the Eagles too at the beginning of the season. I feel like they still have Saquon Barkley nightmares of him running for 200 yards each time they play. So wait a minute.
You can't talk about nightmares of Saquon Barkley when we got a guy on the Madden cover getting hurdled over backwards. Come on.
I mean, okay. I agree with you on that, but he didn't rush for 200 yards twice again and sent you home in the playoffs. Now yet. So over almost 500 combined yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 games. I mean, that was probably the best 2-game stretch I've seen from an NFL player in quite some time. But yeah, I can see a slow start for Jacksonville considering they have to implement a lot of new pieces on the sideline and on the field, and their schedule does not do them any favors. But on the Rams side, I feel like their slow start was more attributed to a lot of injuries up front and a lack of continuity across their offensive line.
Yeah, I know, and I'm glad somebody else is bringing up the injuries here too. That I'm not just the bringing up injuries in general. Those were big, man, and I don't think we talked enough about. It's one thing. This is going to sound awful. I don't mean it terribly, but like I've come to expect Cooper Kupp to miss a little bit of time. That's just how it works for him, throughout the season. He's going to miss a week here or there. He's going to come out and still have 1,200 yards. It's going to be awesome.
That you said that, when he plays you guys as a member of the Seattle Seahawks, he's going to have 100 yards and about 5 touchdowns. 5 catches. So,
no, Tyler, you cannot hurt us. We watched the previous years of Jacksonville Jaguars defense. It is okay. Busted coverages, that's the norm. So, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. That comment is less bitter than it would have been, perhaps, now that move has happened. That's true. But and I think Puka staying healthy is something that's a little easier to expect, right? So, that's I'll put it this way. No one can get too insulted. I haven't compared them to Kevin Durant yet, and I'll leave that at that. But what I will say is, I'm with you guys on the young player piece. The last parallel I wanted to draw personally between the two teams is I find them both, granted for very different reasons, but I feel like the NFC West is a two-team race essentially as a division, just like the AFC South. And I'm already on record on this show saying that the Jags are a division title contender, thus a playoff possible team. I do agree they need to be given time to build, but it's the AFC South. Now, granted, no one in the NFC West that I'm aware of is this bad. No offense, Titans fans or Colts fans, but I also feel like the West in its own way is a two-team race. Am I wrong there?
You want to go, Erin?
I mean, yeah, look, it's the 49ers, like we were talking about on the show and we've talked about, just deserve the asterisk. But, I think we have to be mindful of the Seahawks, Kyler Murray, and the Cardinals. I think, when we look at the division, it wasn't decided until the very end. We were neck and neck with the Cardinals. And of course, again, the asterisk has to come into play when it comes to the Niners because they were just so embattled and they had all those injuries. They just didn't count. But now that, we're going to see a healthy Christian McCaffrey and who knows what's coming out of Seattle, I never want to assume that this division, that our division, and when we play these rivals, it's ever a layup. And I think, yes, I understand the two-team dynamic. We've always, had a very tough time with the Niners, but I don't know, Tyler, when it comes to the NFC West, I don't feel super confident that it's a two-team race. Like I feel like there's going to be a surprise with one of those, with whether it's Seattle or Arizona this year. How do you see that?
So the Rams and 49ers, I feel like they deserve to be the front runners at this point in the calendar in the off season. But I do agree with Erin. I mean, you look at the way the Cardinals compete and all the close games they were in, you would have to figure that Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., their rapport is going to get better in year two. The Seahawks, there's a question mark when it comes to Sam Darnold, but I mean, Cooper Kupp, I think that's a huge addition for the team. Jackson Smith-Njigba, I mean, emerging number one wideout. Their defense played a little bit better with the new regime. So yeah, the NFC West, I feel like is going to be competitive. Yes, the Rams and the 49ers probably the favorites right now, but this time next year, and we're in the off season, and we're talking about how the Arizona Cardinals won the NFC West or the Seattle Seahawks won the NFC West, I wouldn't be shocked, just because all the teams in the NFC West, they are, I feel like contenders, playoff contenders, because of just the way they compete, their coaching staffs, and the quarterbacks on both sides, on all sides of the division. I mean, yes, Stafford's the most experienced, a Super Bowl champion, but 49ers just backed up the Brinks trucks for Brock Purdy. I mean, and the 49ers, if they were healthy last year, I think they could have pushed the Rams for the NFC West title. So, yeah, those two are the front runners, but don't sleep on the Cardinals or the Seahawks either.
Interesting, because I feel similarly with the AFC South. This is the one area that Kyle and I might disagree just a little bit, because I think the Colts, the floor for the Colts is probably what we saw last season. That 8 to 9 win range just seems very much so where they normally will land, just because of that supporting cast. And they got rid of one of their biggest weaknesses, in my personal opinion, in getting rid of Gus Bradley as defensive coordinator. So I think their floor ends up being.
You have been vocal about that. That's accurate.
That 8-9 win range all of a sudden. So I think the Tennessee Titans probably are truly that one team that I don't think has a realistic chance of just truly competing and being a difficult game in both. Like they're not going to sweep one of the teams in the AFC South. I don't believe that as far as the Tennessee Titans are being concerned. So overall, I think the AFC South, the Jaguars have a realistic opportunity to compete for it, even in this down year, because it is the AFC South, unfortunately or fortunately. But also, if they ended up needing a year to get the offensive line right, or they needed a year to get the defense right under Anthony Campanelli, a first-time defensive coordinator, we don't know what to expect from that. As it currently stands, we're asking all of these guys to hit the ground running without issue, without tripping and falling, without any problems. But if one guy, the defensive coordinator, struggles, all of a sudden you have the high-flying offense who can't stop anyone, and you're still probably a 500 or under team. Or maybe the Trevor Lawrence is struggling because he's coming off of surgery and learning a new offense, and it's not how you want that to look. And so we're asking all these guys to hit just to be a game above 500 realistically, like in 2025. That's a rough sell. I'm going to be honest about that. Like, I'm just calling it what it is. I believe the Jaguars will likely be a 9-win team, or in that range, a shooting range at least, by the end of the season. But I also can see an outcome where they aren't the team that's leading this AFC South or competing in that way, that they are third in the division because the Colts, Anthony Richardson just held on to the ball and just played, game manager football. He hasn't been healthy. That's been his biggest issue. So I can see an outcome in all of these ways. I don't think it's necessarily a 2-team division in that way, but if someone told me they don't believe in Anthony Richardson, I'd be like, well, yeah, that makes sense too, because he's competing with Daniel Jones right now.
I don't believe in Anthony Richardson. I'm on record not believing in Anthony Richardson. And for everything I said about Cooper Kupp not finishing a season, triple it for Anthony Richardson. What you just did, sir, was invest in dimes. What are we doing here? You told me you were an accountant. Come on now.
Jeez. That was nice, though. Good job.
You did set me up for a lot of dad jokes. I'm not that angry about it. You just laid them out all nicely for me. You know how that goes, man. But
we appreciate you guys, because now we are learning so much about this team. We are doing a deep dive. We are doing a crash course in the summertime, learning about the Rams all of a sudden, because James Gladstone and Liam Coen are here, and we're like, well, will the Jaguars be like this? Will they look like this? Are they the new LA East? We have no idea. And it's fascinating though, because as an East Coast team with 3 hours off from you guys, all we know about the Rams for the most part is Jalen Ramsey played there once when he didn't want to play in Jacksonville anymore, and we're just learning a lot of that. I know you're a 49ers fan. Come on, man. I'm talking about the rest of Duval County. Like that, for the most part, that's what we know. So it's been great. It's been fascinating to have that deep dive and just kind of talk with you guys, chop it up with you guys, and like learn what we can learn about Liam and James Gladstone. But so with all of this being said, kind of how do you think this thing's going to land in 2025 specifically? Like, do you have high aspirations for the Jaguars? Do you think it's just going to be, 7-win season and kind of looking forward to the second season, kind of like the Lions? Took a few years to kind of get where they are. Where do you see it going? Start with you, Erin.
Okay.
I think it is an experiment that we saw that recipe work well for the Rams, and you don't, take big risks without considering the big rewards on the other end. And, to me, it's just, I think it's important to remember the philosophy that we're seeing with the Rams, and how, for me, what I feel like Gladstone and Coen, the fact that they're together, that they maintain that synergy, like I said, the parallels, Les Sneed didn't want to give up Gladstone. That was a tough guy to let go of. He was sort of behind the scenes and behind a lot of the, catchy mid-round steals that have thrived for the Rams this season. I like that they're going young. I like that there's a lot of the same mentality when it comes to empowering players, wanting to, like we said earlier in the episode, listen to them. Yeah. And, I'm always somebody that wants to see a little bit more leash, and I think we'll just see what ends up happening. I think We don't know yet, but I feel like this is a very fascinating move in the NFL. And with the Jags, they have nothing to lose. They're swinging for the fences. I think they made a smart move, emulating what the Rams are doing. It's not lost on me, like we mentioned. There's so much similarities between coming off of a 4-win campaign and taking a big chance on a guy like Sean McVay, a young guy like Sean McVay. So, I feel excited. I feel excited. I feel exuberated. I think that the Jags made a really smart decision. And I think you guys are smart in looking to the Rams to see how much of that will be modeled for the Jags this season. And we'll see you in week 7. So it'll be interesting. This isn't a slam dunk that the Rams are going to take it.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot still left to see. And by week 7, it'll be a really interesting storyline. What do you think, Tyler? How do you feel about it?
Well, I like what the Jaguars are doing, certainly. I mean, I said it multiple times. I love the Travis Hunter pick. I do think they're going in the right direction. However, I have them probably winning 8 to 9 games. The AFC South, to me, the Texans are the front runners in that division. I can see the Jaguars as the second best club in the AFC South. I mean, we know the Titans have a lot of work to do. They're kind of rebuilding. And the Colts, I mean, I feel like Anthony Richardson has the most pressure of any quarterback in the NFL this season when it comes to, I mean, are you going to beat out Daniel Jones? I mean, it says something when you have questions about beating out Daniel Jones. So that's the position he's in. But overall, I do feel like the Jaguars, they are moving in the right direction. I like what they are doing, but they're probably a couple years away, a year or two away from, I think, supplanting the Texans in the AFC South. But that's not a knock. I feel like your fans are going to call me the Jaguars and the Trevor Lawrence hater, but I am not that. But to me, they're a couple years away. And when it comes to week 7, I mean, it's going to be a tea party for the Rams in London because the Rams are probably going to win that game.
I like that. I say the hosts working together on the tea puns. I'm with that. And Tyler, I will tell you this: anybody who thinks you're a Trevor hater, I will gladly jump in and defend you to this extent. You certainly are doing a good, thorough analysis. You are not going to town on him like, say, an Emmanuel Ocho or some other personalities have just gone to work on Trevor. And so, yeah, you have a long way to go before being a true Trevor hater. That's what I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
I Bleav I can see where you're going with this, and I can even probably land on the same page, even if we may disagree on the difference of one win over the span of a season. Let's be real. An injury here or there, and that we're in the same ballpark. Like that's the same conversation at that point. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future holds as far as guys being healthy. So at the end of all of it, I'm very excited about the Jaguars bringing all these guys in. I mean, they brought in Jake Team from the Rams analytics department. He helped build the JARS program. So they're trying to make sure their scouting department list exactly the same. Like, so in all the ways, I'm ecstatic for James Gladstone and those guys building that front office, building that scouting and personnel side like the Rams. But also that will mean that this offseason that we just went through, the 2025 offseason, may not have necessarily been exactly what James Gladstone would have wanted had he had the full offseason of scouting, had he had his systems in place and everything else throughout the whole offseason. So it's going to be interesting. That I kind of agree with you that they could need another year or two just to get their own full offseason in play and kind of see what a real James Gladstone offseason would look like. I'm static about the Travis Hunter trade. We'll see what everything else happens with those late round picks and how much they play, how good they are, etc. We're still questionable on whether Bashaw Tootin, the Jaguars' 4th round draft pick running back, is going to be the guy who supplements Travis Etienne, or whether he's just going to be a guy on the roster who's depth to him. So we'll kind of see where that lands. I believe he's ranked like right now there's no unofficial depth chart. Just in my head, he's the 3rd guy in line. That's just kind of where I think he's going to kind of be at this current moment in time. So it's just a lot of the picks I have questions on how much of this was his doing versus how much of this was the previous administration, who kind of did a lot of the work on the ground before Gladstone got there late in the offseason. So I don't necessarily disagree with either of your takes as far as where this thing is going to land. I just want to be very clear in saying that. But yeah, I mean, again, as someone who still has a little bit of hope in my heart, because I do support the team, even though I try my best to cover them in an unbiased way. Yeah, you want to hope they get 9 wins. I think that'd be great. But also, if they can beat the Rams and London, then that would be incredible, because we don't dislike you guys. It's just I just want you to lose. That's all.
I'll holler at you after week 7 and after the season when they have 8 wins.
The record, I said 8 wins too. So I'm not going to give you too hard a time, Tyler. It's okay. But guys, great conversation. Couldn't have asked for more. And thanks for jumping in with us. Bleav in Rams, Erin Coscarelli, TylerDragon. Erin, tell the world we can be found. Anything we need to know about beyond Tennis Network and Wimbledon, of course.
Yes, of course. We're doing Wimbledon coverage, and you can, of course, get all the high tea on my social at Erin Coscarelli, X, Instagram, all the things, even TikTok these days.
I'm growing up and getting on TikTok, and by I mean Travis is helping me with the Duval dive. Do that, Tyler. Tell the world where you can be found and what you got going on.
Well, I'm old school. I do not have TikTok, but you can follow me on X at the TylerDragon and read all my latest work on usatoday.com. I just came out with my top 10 free agents still available that published today. So, yeah, you can check that out on usatoday.com.
My personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. Tell the world.
Oh, and of course, you can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. But most importantly, you can find my writings covering the Jaguars, bigcatcountry.com. I mean, obviously it's the off season. We got to stay locked into all the camp and all the upcoming, pressers from the camp. We got to stay locked in to make sure we have our tickets to training camp that's coming out. Please, 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 I'm begging you guys to stay alert. Put the Jaguar socials on notifications on, because once those training camp tickets become open, they're going to be gone in like 24 hours, because everybody and their mama want to see Travis Hunter. You know what this is. So please be alert, be aware. You're not going to have time. This is not previous years in Duval County. If any of you saw OTAs, you know what that was. Those tickets were gone immediately. So stay alert. Travis D. Holmes on the socials, bigcatcountry.com. We have you guys covered. And sir, Mr. Nash, where can you be found?
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network for your Jacksonville Jaguars, as well as the Orlando Magic, and my work covering UCF football and basketball. blackandgoldbanner.com, and of course, the Night Shift podcast. So for the Bleav in Rams podcast, for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, this is Kyle Nash. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.